So I'm here on a live call with Mariana, who's very happily volunteered to step into a 15-minute coaching call with me. So welcome, Mariana.
Hello.
Hi. And yeah, we're just going to jump straight in there to see if you have a burning question or something you'd like to look at and explore, and we can get straight to it.
Cool. So yeah, it changed what I wanted to ask for right before the call. So I think the most palpable question still is how to find my path that will be fulfilling, kind of a purpose, and how to more learn of like the purpose being smaller things than just influencing the whole world or saving the whole Amazon forest.
Okay, great. So you like a 15-minute call on life purpose? Yeah, why not?
I know. I thought that it should be two questions if this is the one.
Okay, so let's begin from this place. So let's just close our eyes. I just invite you to just take a nice big breath into the nose, out through the mouth. And as you're asking this question, also invite you to get a sensation of asking the question not just from the mind, not just in language, but also asking the question as a feeling, and also asking it as an intention, and then breathing into that. So you also add the power of your body, the power of the life energy that you are, into the question. And the invitation for doing this is so you feel totally included. Every aspect of you, every dimension, every layer, every expression is included in this hugely important question, which is, what is my path? What is my way? What is my purpose? So we invite you to relax and sense that place where everything's coming together, is included, and is welcome. Okay, then, so I'd like to give a question back to you. And just when you're asking this question, where do you feel that you're asking it from?
That I'm operating from?
Yeah, kind of. Where do you think the question arises from to begin with?
It arises from a feeling of stuckness, of like, I fulfilled all my dreams that I wanted. And now I feel like I don't have a new dream. I don't have a new aim to let myself flow towards to. I feel like I need the focus. I need to focus the energy somewhere and then I'm happy to let the universe lead me, but I don't have that, what it should be that I should be going to.
Okay, so
as a new dream.
So that gives me some information. Yeah? That gives me an indication that there's an association between purpose and result or activity, which is understandable. That's how most people consider purpose. Yeah. So let's just consider that for a moment. Is that, and I want to introduce a sort of distinction about measures as well. Like, how do you measure whether you're living a purposeful life? How do you measure whether it's successful or satisfying? What's your response to that? What are your personal measures of success or satisfaction? How would you gauge that?
Exactly. And when you say this, I still have that it's on how it's going to be perceived from the outside. It's not completely how I solely see it. It's just like it needs to be something that's other people are going to also agree it's a purpose, and I'm doing enough in my life.
So this is interesting. So just also want to build that in. So two considerations. One is that there's a connection between purpose and an activity, an external event, a doing of something. And then there's also something wrapped around that, which is to do with, like, it also matters about other people's opinions or views or, their take on it. Is it, so you're giving some of your power to them to define whether it's purposeful or not, yeah?
Yeah.
So for you, polishing your shoes may be incredibly purposeful because you want shiny shoes, but to other people, maybe not, So,
exactly.
So then there's a question in there about reliance upon external validation or recognition. Yeah. How does that feel when I reflect that back to you?
Yeah, I know this. It's completely true. And I feel like I should know that, but I also don't know where is it coming from or how to get rid of it.
Let's just look at it in developmental terms for a moment, because it's like the obvious place to begin. Is that as a very small child, it's that we are in dependency. We need reflection. We need our parents and caregivers for survival. So everything is in reflection. We're constantly in feedback with the external environment, because the external environment is not only satisfying us, it's surviving us. Yeah, feeding, sheltering, caring, loving, nourishing, this kind of thing. And in adults, we continue with this process. We continue with it becomes an unconscious expectation that other people are there to fulfill me or give to me or recognize me. So there's a stage of moving from dependency into independence, where you start to claim it. You go out on your own, you carve your own way. Then there's a stage beyond that called interdependence, where you've carved your own way, you've gone out, you discover your identity, but then you share it with others. But the last stage is a very different kind of sharing to the dependency phase. Because the dependency, there's need attached. I need you to seed me. And you can feel it in your emotional body. There's a sense of desperation or dissatisfaction, because they like me, they didn't like me, that they like this idea, they don't like it. So there's a possibility of giving your power away. But in interdependence, you already know your essence. You already know your worth. You already know your value. And you're just sharing from that place. And it's much more, it's like, I'm a musician, you're a dancer. I'm a football player, you're a golf player. Fantastic. We have our differences. And you get into this mutual celebration that you're living your giftedness. You're living your talent. And it's not a search for validation. It's more like a mutual recognition, which doesn't need any approval. Yeah? So there's something underneath it sometimes when we're looking at what is purpose, that sometimes purpose is not quite what it makes out to be. Sometimes it's a deeper search for fulfillment and deeper connection to your own power. So that would be my invitation, to look inside of that. To, instead of like, okay, great, you go out and save the Amazon, or, look after the pandas, which is maybe fantastic and wonderful. Who are you going to be in the middle of it? How are you going to feel in the midst of that experience? How does that sound to you? What does that touch? I was saying, yeah, there's intrinsic meaning in the activity, but the question for me is, who are you going to be in the doing of it? And this is what I would encourage people to look at all the time, whether you call it life purpose or any activity. Who are you being in the midst of the doing? Are you even aware of your being in the middle of cooking food for your friends and in saving out? Are you there? Are you present with it?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's a good question to ask. I still feel like I don't know what that thing I want to be fulfilling for my life is. Mm-hmm. And that's why I can't even answer this question.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to look at it and like reverse engineer the question, like to take a few steps back from it. Yeah? Because there's a belief we have all been trained into, is that fulfillment is over there. You got to go to school, get your grades, get to university, get a career, so forth, and you're going to get the validation, success, money, and everything else from the doing of it.
Yeah.
And for some people, there's a life path laid out. It could be a religious path, it could be a philosophical, it could be a political path, it could be one given by your parents or by your own ideas that you've constructed. Yeah. So we're moving along a timeline and kind of ticking off the list as we achieve this and this and this. Yeah. And at some point, you're going to tick the list, and it's end of the game. It's game over. It's time for dying. Yeah. Right. So I'd like to hit the pause button, like to radically hit the pause button, and to stop the world, and to take the world off your shoulders, take the future off your awareness for a moment, and really come back into what we can call dynamic living presence, simply being here. Now, if you're not satisfied here in the nothing, why would you expect to be satisfied in the something? What's going to fill up the void of not feeling yourself here, do you see? And there's a hope we have for ourselves. One day, someday, it's called. One day, someday, I'll have all the money, all the wealth, the wife, the kids, the dog, and everything else. We're living inside of a future vision, which when you look at it with your eyes open, it's more of a consoling belief.
Yeah.
So I would invite you and anyone who's sort of listening to this to really begin from where you are and recognize that purpose begins as a quality. And it's something I would consider to look at in terms of like self-esteem, self-worth, self-value. Because as those things start to increase with you, in you, as you, then the creation part is a very easy, effortless next step. And it's not so loaded. It doesn't have the weight of expectation, or I need to get this, I need approval, I need to be seen, I need to be something, because you already are something. Yeah. So then your sense of purpose arises from an extension of yourself. Mm-hmm. So instead of looking for something to give you something, it's rather I am something and I'm sharing something. It's a completely different orientation. How does that feel?
Yes, it feels exactly that, and it feels like I don't know what that I am this is, because I have a very broad I don't know, skills or knowledge, whatever, but there isn't one thing I would say I excel at like that. But with production, with logistics coordination, I am really good at that, but I'm not sure that's fulfilling enough. Maybe I need to find what to put that skill into, because that's something that comes easy to me, right? And I can do. I can bring order into chaos, and I see the steps and I know what needs to be done, can follow through. But how do I use this?
So making the distinction there between the skill base, right? So clearly you're good at this. You know, you've I know a little bit about your story. So you live with this, you work with this, you've achieved a lot with this. Yeah? So you've cultivated and crafted a talent, skill base, sense of genius, resourcefulness. Right? You know how to do it. You're confident in that. Yeah. Now, again, it's the same thing. It's like you might be a confident cook. You know, you might have great dinner parties. But my question would still be the same thing: are you in the cooking? Are you in the dinner party? Are you in your life while it's happening? And this is what, you know, has been referred to over the last many years about coming to presence. Now, presence isn't just presence, which is empty of talents, gifts, and doing. It's being present within the action. You know, I think some people have this idea: I'm just present. That's it. I don't have to do anything now.
Right? Yeah. Exactly.
Right? No, so I'm present and I'm acting, and I'm present in my acting. It's simply, you know, if you want to look at it so super simply, is I'm aware I'm alive in the act of living. So this was a definition that was given to me by a teacher called Rolando Toro in Biodanza. He says the meaning of life is in the living. Yeah? It's not in the idea of living. The meaning of life is in the living. Right? And this kind of breaks completely and reverses the whole idea of Western philosophy that the meaning of life is some kind of conceptual realization we'll get to one day. It's also a religious ideal. It's an ideal. It's something outside of us. It's a political ideal. It's somewhere over there. And we've been very encultured and trained into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that very much. What do you say? That the purpose is in living. I just can't fully believe it.
Yeah, of course. See, the thing is, okay, so I'll challenge you this. And I want you to listen carefully. You're never going to believe this.
Okay.
And that's not said in a depressing way. It's because belief can't touch this. Right? It doesn't matter how well refined or purified or evolved your beliefs have become. Belief is still an activity of the mental sphere. Yeah? And the matter of purpose is a story of the heart. You know, it's an expression of feeling. It's an expression of energy. It's an expression of presence and aliveness. Yeah? Now that can move through the mind. Poetry is a good example. You know, poetry is using, you know, cold words on a two-dimensional page if you wrote it down, yeah? And yet you can infuse it with life and passion and energy because you're bringing metaphor. But if you listen in the reading of a poem, you can actually feel the feeling where it's coming from underneath it.
Yeah.
So the heart is coming through the metaphor, the picture, the image, and the words. It's just giving life to. So I'm just saying that because you can definitely give life through the mind. Hopefully we're doing that right now in this communication. Is that I'm using my mind to speak a little bit, but I'm speaking from my heart. And hopefully you're listening from your heart through your mind, you know. So you're then using the technology that you've been endowed with. And this is something, the way that I construct a sense of purpose as well, is to do a skill-based analysis. You know, I want to learn where my strengths and weaknesses are, where my joys are, where I've cultivated time, knowledge, energy, experiences. And of course, you know, that's working to my strengths. Yeah. And then, so that's part of the analysis. Then the other part is like really anchoring into like a process of self-inquiry or meditation or walking and breathing, whatever you do to allow yourself to be here. And then to bring these two together, this wonderful unity where you pull your talents into your heart space, your presence, and you get them to work for your heart. Yeah, I've come to this conclusion in my own life that it doesn't matter what I do. Yeah, it's not about the doing. I love everything I do, and I love everything I do because I'm in the love of doing everything I'm doing while I'm doing it. Yeah, so it's like I'm not separating myself out from the action. I don't make the action more significant than my state of presence. I'm just getting a sense of how you're digesting what's just been shared here.
Yeah, I feel like all things I know inside, and I just needed to be reminded. And that's what I want to focus on now, seeing that the being is enough, you know, that that I'm not going to just like sit and procrastinate while I'm being present. Exactly what you said before.
So as you're aware, it's like I also run dance school. I'm very interested in dance and movement. And this sensation of like learning how to extend from inside out. Yeah, this extension.
You're back.
Good. I like that. Excellent. Dramatic pause there.
Very dramatic pause.
I know. Okay, just for the future, I'm going to use my other computer, which has got a wire Ethernet cable. Yeah.
Too intense for the transmission.
It gets intense. Okay, so yeah, you were just sharing a little bit about how you're digesting what we just.
Yeah, I was just saying that it is all things that I think I know. When you say they're not new, they're just need to be reminded. And that sense of being present and living in the presence and moving on with that is probably what is more for me. It's more and like, what does make me really feel happy, you know, what fulfills me, and try to focus more on that and see where that is gonna manifest into, what that is going to go to.
And at the same time, even as you're saying that, just catching yourself in your language, because you're still asking what is going to fulfill me. Right? And just to, to bounce it right back at you, it's just like, how about being your own fulfillment before you look at what's going to fulfill you? I mean, it's very, very, very subtle. Okay, this is not personal to you. This is personal to every human being on the earth. We've all been conditioned into looking away from ourselves. No, but the humor of it, we're looking away from ourselves to be ourselves. There's a humor in that. Well, it's not very humorous when you're doing it, but once you've realized that that's what you're doing, it's funny. You realize, I was always me looking over there to find me, and one day I had to look in the mirror of someone else who knew who they were. Another me realized, and I realized I was already here. Yeah. So there's something that I'd just like to sort of frame it a little bit in a bit of a container, which might make it a bit more useful. Yeah? Is that okay? So I'd invite you to look at whatever you consider to be self-development or spiritual practice, and really recognize that those are in the category of presencing activity. Yeah? So meditation, breath work, self-scanning, deep breathing, resting, coming into your own heart. This kind of activity is the purpose of that is to come deeper into your sense of presence. And it's primarily letting go the story, letting go thinking, letting go doing, unwinding and refreshing your center, resourcing. So the resourcing, presencing exercises there. So I would definitely do some of those, and this helps us support our sense of self as love and self-esteem and our inner connectedness. So we start to fill up our own cup. We start to feel more full, more of a fountain. Okay? Then there's another series of exercises, which I would call self-development exercises. Right? And these are the development from the self. So I look at everything I'm endowed with, my creative capacity, what I've already achieved, my knowledge base, my toolkit, my craft skills and everything else. Yeah? And make some kind of inventory about all the things that I'm capable of doing. Yeah. And then also another list alongside that, which is the things you're interested in developing as well. Maybe you want to become more of an artist. You want a bit more, public speaking. You want to learn how to garden. Other skills you want to add on to your already interesting base. Yeah? Then you want to look at putting it all together. What would happen if I could overlap what I've realized inside myself, qualities of love, beauty, harmony, wisdom, joy, infuse them into right? The skill base, the talent base. And then to have a moment of practicing that. So take something that, let's say you like painting, for example, yeah, or drawing, sketching. Next time you sketch, start with your eyes closed, breathe in, connect to your heart, and feel that your heart is moving through your arm, out through your hand, out through the pencil, onto the paper. Yeah. Right. And then, if you lose that connection, you don't then get lost on the paper. Take a pause, breathe in again. Right, and just practice moving from inside out. It's a practice. It's like we have to retrain the pathway, right? To be in presence, in activity, and stay in presence. Yeah? So it's a skill base where I'm still here while I'm talking to you. I didn't talk to you and so I lost myself because I'm talking to you, or I lost myself because I'm kicking a football, or it's being in and as where you are. In Zen, they say, when eating the food, eat the food. Just be present in the activity as it's happening.
Yeah.
So there's, I would suggest that if you did that for a while and do it with some humor and do it with some joyfulness and lightness and ease, then you'll kind of soften back into something you really do deeply know already. And it's really about allowing yourself to be the fullness that you are. And then from there, the whole process of vision be much, much, much easier because it's rising from your being. Yeah, it's not a vision which is trying to compensate a void. It's not a vision which is trying to fill up an empty space. Yeah, and that's intrinsically going to be dissatisfying because you're searching for a fix. Yeah. So that's when all this comes from. When I asked you, where are you asking the question from? Yeah, and that also may be a useful tool. Is that when you're communicating something to others or to yourself, or where am I asking this from? Okay, if it's just a reaction from the mind or it's compensation, perhaps I'll just pause for a minute and deepen my connection, and then I'll ask again from a deeper place.
Yeah, that's definitely coming along with what I'm practicing right now in my life.
Listen, thank you very much for coming on for this little call. Really appreciate this.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom.